Hi, I'm Diane Morton-Gattullo, and welcome to another episode of Warehouse 34. And I'm joined by a great friend and amazing guest. Edward, tell everybody your name and who you are.
I am, listen to me. I'm called Edward Nunzio, the messenger, because I deliver messages to the living from the other side.
Which is amazing. And I met you several years ago in a store. I was shopping at a mutual friend store. You were friends with Kim Capone, and
yes.
So am I. And Kim, BFF Kim. The experience left me stunned. I had never met you before, and you came up to me at the counter in front of Kim, and I guess, because you're friends with Kim, she knew what you that you were going to say something to me. And I stood there about to pay, and my jaw just fell and shattered on the floor. It was just wild. You had told me that you had a message from somebody who was in a room with just a certain amount of people while we waited for a close friend to pass away. And you said that the person wanted to thank me about a chair, and you went into details about it. Nobody but the people in that room knew what happened. And it's not like that anything that went on in that room that any of us ever, little funny things which is kind of strange to say you have a funny thing while someone's passing,
yeah.
but little things that were endearing, we've repeated, to the outside, but like the deep details, none of us have ever shared with the outside world. And you knew them and told them to me in the middle of Kim's store. I was floored. I bought your book,
yeah.
I read your book, and I've been your fan ever since.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know that you're kind of amazing. I know that you think you're ordinary, but you're very far from ordinary. You are not an ordinary person. You have a gift that's pretty wild that I enjoy, and I wanted to share with everyone. So how did you start this?
I was 7 years old. I heard my mother on the phone, and she was crying that her grandmother passed away, which would be my great-grandmother, Lily. And a while later, we went over to my grandmother's house, and I'm walking up the stairs, and I see great-grandma Lily on the stairs, waving, because she always stood on the stairs. And Italian people, we have to kiss the whole room. There could be 100 people, but so by the time you finish, your jaw is plastered. So Grandma's beckoning me over to her, and I got scared because the word dead, and I know she's in heaven, so I was told, and yet she's on the stairwell, so the 7-year-old couldn't comprehend that. And I ran up the rest of the next flight, and my grandfather yells, "Nuns, stop running!" And I had a rainbow cookie in my hand, and I squished it so tight. But I still eat rainbow cookies today.
I love them too.
That was one of my first experiences with the other side.
And this is followed through your whole life? Have you ever had a break in between where...
There's times that I box with God, with my short arms or in his long arms, and say, I don't want to do this. I just don't want to do this anymore, because it becomes very hard. But the next day somebody else is calling, or a week later, and there's if I could help people health-wise, rather, then I do that. If I, let's say, go to the person and I do this, and I could feel if they broke a bone, or there's cancer, or an uncle of mine had come to visit, and as I said earlier, Italians, we all hug each other, and I put my arms around it, and I could feel cancer. It felt like jello. So when he left, and I told my mom, Uncle John has lung cancer. She said, "Why he told you?" I said, "He didn't have to tell me."
Wow.
So it's been good. It's been fun. You mentioned about a dear friend of yours passing. There's two things I want to say about that. One is a pair of diamond earrings, but I'm going to get to that in a moment.
Okay.
The other one is when our loved ones are crossing over or getting ready to cross over, what we should do is hear what they're saying and what they're looking at in the room. If they're looking at something that's not there.
I think each and every one of us wished we could have heard what she was saying, but she was on her path, and she was not awake.
Right, but it's prior to getting to that point.
Oh, yes.
That they start seeing loved ones that appear, and it's in the messenger about my mother telling me everything that went on, that this person died. And I said, who would tell you that someone died? Well, Mrs. Gravenese, my mother was on the 5th floor, Mrs. Gravenese was on the 4th floor. Mrs. Gravenese goes and visits my mother and gives my mother a message to give Mrs. Gravenese's daughter,
wow.
that she left and she's perfectly fine. And my mother wouldn't know. My mother was dying.
That's pretty wild.
So life is amazing.
I wish I had the opportunity to have had that conversation with her, because it would have been interesting who she was going to see or who she did see. You know, because it would have just been colorful, fun, wild experience. Yeah, yes.
It would have been, I'm sure, a wild ride.
Yes.
Now, let's go to the earrings. On my way over, I thought about a pair of diamond earrings. And you could tell your part of the story.
Sure.
So before you go on, Diane, you know that person is with you. She laughs, she's with you. It's a wave, and I'm gone.
Well, her motto was, I'm not here for a long time, I'm here for a good time.
Right.
So there's the wave, the laughter, and the departing. But I make no secret that Angela was one of my dear friends since I'm 18. And when she passed, it wasn't the passing of, Big Ange. It wasn't the passing of mob wives. It was just Angela.
Right.
The friend, so her closest friends and family all gathered in the hospital to, we wanted to be with her, to say goodbye. And at one point, one of the girls in the friendship circle realized that she didn't have earrings on, and as we call it, bling, or makeup. So she was like, oh my God, our girl has no bling, she doesn't have makeup. So one friend took out lipstick with shaking hands, lip gloss, and her hands were shaking, and she put it on her lips. And I had earrings on, and I didn't think anything of it. I took them out of my ears, and I got so nervous that I dropped them in my brisk iced tea. And I got even more nervous, but now, like that giggle nervous that comes out. And her nephews, who are just such sweethearts, they were standing next to me. In fact, they're the ones who gave me the iced tea, trying to get me to calm down. And they were like, it doesn't matter, she'll never know. And I'm like, dirty diamonds are better than no diamonds. So, I'd take a swig, spit them out, try to clean them up. And they had to put them in her ears because my hands were shaking so much. So Angela passed wearing my diamond earrings. And after her passing, I was a little concerned for the whereabouts of the earrings, but I just kind of felt that they were going to find their way back to me. They were somewhere in the universe, and they needed to go wherever it is they needed to go, and that they were going to come back to me. And worst comes to worst, they're on the insurance policy of the house. They're GIA certified with the laser, and they were really beautiful earrings. A week and a half later, the earrings were in her sister's ears. Her sister, who was Angela's, keeper of everything, and so she was the keeper of my earrings for me, so that they would be returned to me safely. It was just, I just knew that they were going to pass through wherever they needed to go, and then they would eventually find their way to me. And Janine was so kind, to wear them and not to lose them, because most people wouldn't even realize that they were real.
Right.
They would be like, these things are fake, and they were so not fake. And so I'm very grateful I got them back. And I did promise Janine that any, experience in her life that she needed to feel them, since they were the earrings Angela wore while she passed on. She needed to feel Angela with her. She could borrow the earrings, whether or not wearing them or putting them in her pocket or whatever, just to have Angela close to her. Because as you know, when you pass in a hospital, there are not many things to take with you.
No.
It's at that point in time, it's a hospital gown, and that's it.
That's it, and we're gone. But that was a gift that you gave to the person who wore those earrings for that period of time, because she felt like that loved one was with her.
Sure.
But did she really, and it's also a gift to you, because anytime that you wear them, you're walking with your friend Angela. It's the same thing,
It's funny, I have rosary beads hanging from the mirror of my car.
Right.
And somebody pretty much did the same thing, like, where you talk to people and tell them things,
Right.
And she went over to me and said some very personal, confidential things to me about Angela. I was like, and who are you?
Yeah.
And how do you know me? And she said, I have 3 pairs of rosary beads, and I want you to pick a pair. And I said, well, shouldn't you tell me which ones I should pick? Because
Right.
she said, well, it's funny because there are a pair here, and there's a pair Angela wants you to have, and then I want you to see which one. So I picked a pair of rosary beads, and these are in her hands, and
Right.
and she turns around and she goes, those are the pair that she wants you to have. So I hang it on my mirror. Angela drove a white Mercedes with black windows, and I would park on Victory Boulevard off of Slauson, facing the North Shore every day, Monday through Friday. And Angela would always be driving the opposite direction. She would always roll down her window, pull up next to me, during my lunch hour. And you want to go out tonight? Or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'll see you at 7. And she would pass on, and go, go get whatever it is she was doing. And so when I had those rosary beads hanging from my car, a white Mercedes with black windows would pull up every day at the same time, but never roll down its window.
Yeah.
And it was the strangest thing. I would watch this, go on, and I would call my friends and go, the white Mercedes is outside. Like, how could this possibly be? I know it was someone else's car.
Right, but Spirit
it was
moves
her bringing
right.
me, that experience to say, it's okay. Right. It's all right. I'm all good,
Yeah. Spirit moves in different ways. Totally different ways, Diane. Universe is amazing. People think, we're looking at a dead body and it's over. But there's the separation of the body. Mm-hmm. This is the body, and it separates, and the I call it the soul, but it's really the essence of love that mm-hmm. leaves that body and goes on and watches over us. Life is amazing. This is not the only life. There's many lives that we live. That's all I ever wanted. Right. For me, I mean, when I was younger, I wanted the wakes that were like, the scream fests. Of right. course, I want my husband to be in the, screaming, it should have been me. I'll never be, one of those things. I may still want that part of it, And then I always loved, because I'm from Brooklyn, Greenwood Cemetery with those big, yes.
Art Deco.
You want the biggest one.
I always wanted the biggest one. And now and I know it's against the law, you can't just chuck ashes anywhere, no. But we don't have to tell anybody. After the viewing, my husband screams and cries and, does a respectable amount of hair tearing for me. I want to be cremated, right. And I want to be put in a bottle of champagne, empty bottle of champagne, and I want you to chuck me off the Bell Parkway into the water off the Shore Road. Right. Because Shore Road means a lot to me. It's where I'm from. I'm from Bay Ridge, and Shore Road represented everything for us. Right. It's like my favorite place on the face of the earth. Right. What happens, Diane, is that the importance of all this is so important to us now, present, but when we're on the other side, it really is unimportant. Mm-hmm. But what's important on the other side is that they come and they visit. So if it's a mother that's crossing, the mother will never leave a child. Mm-hmm. She'll always be visiting and doing different. And the ones that see it are the little ones, the children. If I might, I'd tell you a story of my grandson. Yes. All right. Now, show us your books, because you're not only amazing, but you're also an author, and you have shows, and you had a show on Amazon, The Messenger. Thank you. I love that. You. I mean, amazing. These are my children's book. This is Philip and the Magic Crystal 1 and 2. As you can see, that's 2. I'm going to put Anthony here for a moment on the chair. And this is Olivia. Beautiful children. And this is my youngest, and this one is the Berries of Golly's Way. I have 6 grandchildren so far. I've written for 4. I'm working on the next 2. But the story of Anthony... Are they jealous, the 2 that don't have a book yet? No, they know. Okay. They know. The Olivia... Because I think I would be, if you were my grandpa, I'd be like, where's my book, Olivia, I said, well, you're going to be a witch in my next book. She didn't talk to me. Really? She didn't want to be a witch. But Madison says, Papa, you can make me anything you want. Okay. So the story of Anthony is he was 3 years old,
when his dad called me and said, "Dad, you have to. Little Anthony needs to tell you something," and I said, "Oh, okay, put the baby on the phone." He said, "No, you have to come here." So I drive to the house, and I said to Anthony, "What do you have to tell Grandpa?" And he gets shy, and my son said, "It's okay to tell Papa. It's okay." And then he tells me, I never talked about my father's family. My father died at 39 or 40. And they weren't very nice to my mother when after my father passed. So there was no reason ever to talk about them again. Not all of them. There was a couple that were nice. The rest, no. So my grandson Anthony names every one of. Never met them. My children didn't even know their names. He mentions Uncle Harry, Uncle Rudy, Uncle this Eddie, and this one, and this one. And he said, and he mentions an Uncle Phil, but not like my other son Phil. He said, not like that, Uncle Phil, but a different kind of. He didn't know how to say great-grandfather. He has already 2 grandfathers. Where's the third one come in the baby's mind? And then he said, and how dare they name a lady Baby? So, and he said, Baby would open the window and throw the bottles out the window. My cousins may get mad, the ones that I talk to. And Babe would drink a 6-pack before Uncle Harry came home, and open the window and throw the bottles out the window and scream something, which we're on television, so I can't say the word. She'd scream for her children to pick up those bottles before her husband came home. Till today, the hair on my body still stands that this baby knew it. But I believe that my father was so proud of his grandson, Anthony, that he wanted his family to meet him. So children, up until the age of 3, Diane, if whatever they're if they're giggling or gooing, whatever they're doing, they're really speaking to a loved one that's no longer here.
Really?
So, that's the beginning of life. You see little ones doing that. The end of life, we'll go to the end of anyone's life, you'll see them looking upward, waiting for that loved one to enter the room, to take them. Nobody ever leaves here alone, good, bad, or indifferent. We don't leave here alone. I was on a radio program and someone said to me, this is a number of years ago, well, if you believe in heaven, what happened to Hitler? I said, Hitler I don't believe in hell, but I believe in a bubble of life. And we all get in that bubble and we see the things that we did wrong. We only judge ourselves. So now this is Hitler in this bubble. How long do you think that man needed to stay in that bubble for eternity and face everyone that he hurt? That's more painful than sitting in the hell of fire.
Sure.
So that's why I don't believe in hell. I believe in heaven. I believe in the universe. But life is mysterious and wonderful. Talking about my books, I want to hear about your book. Your fabulous book.
My book was a lot of fun, and there's one out, and the others that will come in the series I can't do for another year. I'm obligated to wait one more year before I can put the next books out, and it's This Life of Ours, and the name of the series is Fairy Tales of Mob Bartenders, because we were all bartenders in the 80s and 90s. I've been fortunate to do it for 44 years, along with my corporate careers during the day, but it was a fun experience. Everybody knows the Goodfellas and the Sopranos thing. They don't really know what the other side of the fence is when you're a girl. And the book represents what happens to some females who get very close to the flame of that lifestyle. So it's a fun book. I like it.
I like it.
I can read my own book and go,
I'm sure the audience will love it.
Someday I'll add it to my collection over here.
Yes, please do, because you have a lot of wonderful books sitting here.
I do.
I noticed that yours was not here.
And I will change that. I'm going to add your book to my collection over here, and
Thank you.
I should really change it up all the time. I kind of get set with it because they're friends. Everybody who I have on the table and that table over there, they're all friends. And I just enjoy seeing it. So your book is definitely coming.
Well, you have a great warm personality.
Thank you.
And you bring out the best. I don't know if you brought out the best in me, but you bring out the best.
Thank you.
You know, because there's a lot of things that I can't talk about with private clients. You know, my clients are private, but I'm going to share one or two stories with you. If
Absolutely.
I
I think everybody's going to love to hear this.
might. One is the fish boy in one of the major stores, grocery stores, and I told him some stuff about his life, and he must have gone to everybody in the store and said, that man, he knows what he's talking about, or whatever he said. And Mike is a comic. He's got a great comic timing. And he told the deli boy, and the deli boy is cutting me a pound of ham or whatever the hell I ordered, and he said, I really don't believe you. I said, I'm only ordering ham. What are you talking about? He said, well, Mike says this. I said, lean over the counter. And I whispered in his ear, you're adopted. He said, don't tell anybody. They don't know. They don't know. So this is many, many years ago. So, of course, I could share this story today. That's the fun part of it. The hard part is when you see children, when I work with children. I worked in a chiropractic office, and there was a little boy, as I walked into the office, cute little boy, sitting there, swinging his feet back and forth, patiently waiting for, I thought he was waiting for his mother, who was in the, with the doctor. And I do one client, come down the stairs, get the next client, go back up to the office, come down. About the third client, this couple walk in, and this little boy gets so excited. You could just see, and I realized it's not a living child.
And do they look that real to you?
Yes, he looked that real, so perfect. And I asked the couple, did you lose a child? And they said yes. I said, he was here before I got here. And we went up and I did what I had to do. But it's helping people, and that's what feels good. It gave them a little bit of peace. They're always going to miss their child, no matter what anybody says. The other thing that is a little bit harder is where my uncle comes and visit, and all the Italians, we all hug each other, and I wrap my arms around my head and seen him in a long time in the lung area. And I said, after he leaves, I said, Mom, your brother has cancer. And she said, why, he told you that? I said, no, I feel it in my hands. And he did. He had lung cancer when he passed away. I'm doing a group of people, and you've seen me do groups of people. And this one woman, I said, may I see a picture of your child? And she takes out her phone, and I looked at him and I said, he has a problem here. And she said, no, he went to the dentist, he's fine. I said, please take him back, he has a problem here. Well, I got a call a couple of weeks later that the little boy had cancer here, but he is fine. So if I'm talking to someone, like I'm talking to you, if I'm going to say something about health, I'm going to point away from the person, because that if I'm pointing at you, then I'm wishing you this. But I have a question for you. Since we started, if you notice, I'll touch my nose. It's almost like when I feel something, my nose gets itchy, and I don't know why. Looking at you, there's a man next to you, and there was something with his heart. And it looks like he had a stroke. Who is this? And if you don't know...
No, well, my dad passed on, but he had heart problems, but he didn't have a stroke. He had Parkinson's.
All right, Parkinson. All right, so this is the man that's been with you because the heart. If you notice earlier, when you look back at the film, you were speaking and I went like this. That meant the heart. And something with the face. So I'm taking it as a stroke, but he's ever so much with you. And one other thing, Diane, it looks like he crossed near a birthday or a holiday, because he's carrying something, we're going to say a cake. So that tells me that he crossed near a birthday or holiday.
Cake. Right. my dad and I had terrible eating habits growing up.
All right, so that's why he's got the cake,
we
I guess.
3 o'clock in the morning, run into each other in the kitchen, look at each other and go, you know, ice cream, cookies, cake, and that was actually one of his nicknames. He was called Cookie when he was a kid.
All right, so he has the cake. So it could be near his birthday, a holiday, Christmas, New Year's, whatever, or one of the family birthdays, where he may have missed it shortly. But he is fine. And I wanted to say that when we first started, and I didn't want not to say it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Hey, Dad.
So basically, that's how it works. You were with me when I did a group at one of the restaurants here, and it was one of your friends.
Yes, I had a few friends with me, and one couple, the gentleman from the couple, had a horrific loss. One of his sons passed away in a very, very unexpected way. He had a massive, he was hit and smashed on a bridge because of traffic, the way somebody, went around traffic, whatever, and there was no place for him to go, and the car exploded, and the man passed away. And so his dad was with us when we went to go to one of your readings, and you were talking to another woman, and then all of a sudden you switched to him, and you told him some things, and you mentioned a wallet, and he pulled out his son's wallet. He said, I use my son's wallet every single day. And he was absolutely, beyond crushed. He was just kissing his medal around his neck and stuff like that. And there was not a dry eye in the place. Right. Not a dry eye in the place, boy. You said things to him, and he was eternally grateful for the experience. And we still have that conversation in, whenever I see him once in a while, that'll come up. It's
Thank you.
It was wild. Thank you. You gave him the understanding that his son was okay.
Yes.
Because of the way his son had passed, it was definitely a painful experience to be, engulfed in flames trapped in a car. It was painful.
Yes, but that's not how we want him to remember his son. Right. Now, when I say we, I'm talking about the universe. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about God. We want him to know that all the good things.
Right.
So if the young man comes in and he's telling the dad, I'm okay. I remember the story vaguely. Mm-hmm. I remember you, but I remember it vaguely because I drew so many people. We want to give that person peace of mind, peace of heart. The wallet
was, who would know about that? Yeah. Who would know that he carried the wallet? And you kept saying, there's a wallet, there's something with the wallet. Right. Did you find the wallet? And when he pulled it out of his pocket, it was just... everybody was hysterical crying, really.
I have a fascinating, ordinary life.
You are far from ordinary. You are extraordinary because of the gifts that you're able to share with people and bring them comfort.
It was a, thank you, it was a...
You're welcome.
Monsignor, which is... who
I'm Catholic, I know.
Who knocked me for a loop when my grandmother, I told her I see dead people, and she said to me, go to church and speak to the priest. And I went there, and he said, your blood runs cold like a vampire. And of course, now I'm afraid to do the work. I'm bad. I'm not good. I'm not a good person. So
terrible.
Yes, there was. I was 16 or 17 years old at the time, so it wasn't a very good experience for a young person. And years later, a friend of mine, Ralph, says, "There's people in Long Island that want to see you." Sorry. That would like to see you. And I said, no, I don't think so. So he said, no, please come. So I'm sitting in an open-air bar. When I call open-air bar, there's no mirrors in front of me. It's just a square, and there's people there, and we're all around this square bar, and the bartender is in the middle. And someone taps me on my shoulder. And I said, yes, Father. And he said, who told you? I said, nobody has to tell me. Without turning around, I described his office, what he was wearing. When I finished that part, I turned around and looked at him. I said, you wear all red. He was the youngest cardinal in the United States.
Wow.
In here in America, in the United States. And he was the one who pulled out my thorns out of my arms and from that other priest. From the Monsignor, and he said, no, you're doing God's work, continue. And from that point on, I just continued to do it. Whether some people believe you or don't believe you, it doesn't matter.
The whole thing with, I went to Visitation Academy with cloistered nuns who are not allowed to go in the outside world, except for one nun who used to be let out to go get tuna fish for the cats. And she only bought one can each time so she could go out again. But I'm Catholic, and I grew up with the understanding that they're just people.
Right.
So, it's the philosophy that I believe in, not the individual.
Right.
Because you're going to meet some good and some bad.
Very true.
And when they would yell at me about being rebellious in elementary school, I was like, I'm not a bad Catholic, I just don't like you. And then I would get detention up the wazoo for those, comments, and my parents would just go, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, what? I just said the truth.
But did your parents love you any less?
Oh, I think I pretty much tested that theory a little bit, Yeah,
you had to make sure you loved.
I just, I rebelled against, not the unknown, the things I couldn't see that were not tangible. The theory was great, but to turn around and tell me, I had one nun who used to turn around and tell me if I saw, they would tell us all, if you saw a boy naked, remember this is the late 60s, early 70s, you're going to go blind. And I have no brothers, but
is that why you're wearing glasses? You took a peek.
my best friend growing up had brothers, and through the course of sleeping over and stuff, of course, somebody's jumping out of the shower, jumping out of the pool, whatever, And I remember picking up my hand saying, that's not true. I saw Maria's brother come out of the pool or whatever. Nuns were like, detention for a week. I'm like, I'm testing theory, I've got eyesight,
Yeah.
But no, I get what you're saying. Some will never come around to the, to the idea of what you do, and others will embrace it and enjoy it because it's just another part of that special experience of life.
I've had nuns send me clients to talk to. You can't please everyone. Mm-hmm. I had one person say to me, "You're the worst reader I've ever been to," and then send me a letter a year later and apologize. Everything you said was really true, but I'm not ready to hear it.
That's the key.
That's the key. You have to be ready. If you're not ready
to hear the message,
from the messenger. That's it. That's the whole key, Diane. They have to be ready. So it's like saying things, because nobody could tell me a loved one will talk for 1 hour solid. Not going to happen.
Isn't it like fragmented pieces?
It's parts of what they like. Somebody will say, "Well, why don't they tell me about where the money is? Because it's unimportant."
Actually, after I met you, you gave me that message from somebody from that other experience, and then you said there was a man, and that he kept saying he was sorry, backing away, and I had asked you a question somewhat similar to that, and you were like, he just keeps saying he's sorry. And I mean, I would only understand it. You didn't even understand the whole story, but, I think it's not only that it's not important, but sometimes, people make mistakes when they're ill.
Right.
And they're not in their right mind, or they get taken advantage of, and, what are you going to do at that point?
No, there's nothing that we could do. I had a man come to me, like when you were a bartender, bartender, I think they're called.
Yes.
And
I hate barmaid. I'm made to know one. Bartender.
Bartender.
Yes.
Very good answer. I was trying. Good thing I was being careful, because I said, "Which way do you say it?" Because I'm back in those days where a bartender was called a barmaid.
Anybody who's ever called me a barmaid was fined. Yeah, that's a $100 fine. I'm made to know one. Yeah.
I don't blame you. So a man comes in and sees me, a tough character, and when I opened the door and I looked up at God, I said, if I get this wrong, he's really going to shoot me or do something. And he sits down, and I wanted to know what he was coming to me for, what he was coming to me for, and just very tough. So he said to me,
Probably a big pussycat too, though.
Marshmallow inside.
That's right.
And I'll show you that. I'll tell you about that in a moment. And he says to me, I only come for one reason. Something similar to that. And I said, well, and I'm saying to Spirit, do you really want me to say this? And they said yes. I said, you were only together making love. I'm keeping it a little bit clean.
Right.
And then he looked at me and Then he turns around, and I said, and you have her panties in your glove compartment. And his eyes opened up, he cried, so he was a marshmallow inside.
Yes.
You know?
Oh my God, that's wild.
Yeah, so, and that's what he needed to hear. He wanted to make sure that she was all right, but they were only lovers. They weren't in love.
He may have been in love with her, though.
Yes.
For him to make that extraordinary leap of faith to go, seek somebody like you out.
So I looked up afterwards and I said, "Thank you, sweet Jesus." I lived to tell the story.
Do people come to you trying to get someone to come? Or do they come to you for the general experience?
That's an excellent question. When you come to me, come with no expectations. You get more. If you come with an expectation, I want this person to come in. Like I did a show a few months ago over in New Hope at the Logan.
I love New Hope.
It's a great place.
Yes.
At the Logan Inn, which is all rebuilt. And one woman says, "I'm only here to hear from my father." It doesn't work that way. And I tried to explain. She was a little obnoxious, and it hurt the rest part of it, because now I have to recollect myself and and go into a certain space. And no, it don't work that way. If he wants to come, he will talk to you.
Right.
Which at the end, she got what she came for.
Did he yell at her through you? Don't be so fresh.
Right. The thing is, just relax with it. Mm-hmm. Nothing is. I say to people, anything that I say is not a fact. Don't live by that. Mm-hmm. Just take it the way you wish to take it, but it's not a fact. Meaning, it's not a fact. Like I'm going to clear up that point because it didn't really sound right. A young lady calls me and said, "Ed, I need to see you right away." And I had spoken to her once before, maybe 6 months prior. She said, "I went to another reader." I said, "Doesn't matter if you went to 100 readers. It's I don't get offended." And she said, I made an appointment for her that night because she was really upset, crying, and I didn't know why yet until she came to tell me the story. This reader said, "My mother's going to die in a car accident in the next couple of weeks." I said, "Your mother is not dying in a car accident, and I am sorry that reader told you that."
That's terrible.
The mother, for a number of years, was still alive. I haven't seen the kid in over 20 years, or more than 20 years. So she's probably in about 45 now.
I mean, I don't know what the rules are, if there are rules, but I know that the people who I've become friends with throughout the years, who are gifted like you, one friend of mine, Madeline, said she is not allowed.
Right.
I don't know who's telling her she's not allowed, but she, ethically, she won't do that.
Right.
And we hired her to write a column for the New York Post, and it was like a celebrity-driven column, and there were a list of people she was supposed to write about, and she said several of them she could not write. She wouldn't say why, but I understood afterwards, a couple of years later, that they just didn't have anything to write about because they had passed on, and she wasn't going to say it. But during her interview process, she said some very, very crazy things, and there were 4 of us in the room, and we played poker face like you couldn't imagine, and she told each one of us something that was so personal that she made grown men one was the CEO of the largest marketing company in North America. Dear friend, love him, respect him. He's like on a pedestal in my life, next to like my husband and my father-in-law and my dad. I adored this man. Made this man choke. I was like, oh my God. And after because we said we weren't going to break or whatever, and when we said thank you, we'll let you know, and she walked out, he was like, everything she said was true. Right. Oh my God. Told the CFO of the company, stop marrying women all with the same name. There's a reason why these things don't work out. And then told my counterpartner in LA, like, very, very serious things that I worked with him for over 10 years, and I had no idea of his childhood and stuff like that. Our jaws hit the floor. Right. And she hit everything on the head with me. And
good.
Yeah.
Good.
But she wouldn't write about certain people, and she said, I'm not allowed. I was like, who's not letting you do something? We'll give you free reign here. Yeah. Anything you want, we'll put it in writing. This is the list. I'm not allowed. No. I always wondered, not allowed by what? Who? Where?
Universal law.
I never understood it back then. Now I do. But
who couldn't she talk about?
She was not allowed to talk about JFK Jr. and Princess Diana, and the third person I really can't remember who it was.
Now, it's Princess Diana and JFK Jr. And why? You know why she couldn't talk about
Because
them?
they were going to pass.
And it's the way they were going to pass. Both died tragically.
I'm not starstruck, and I've been around celebrities and whatever, like my whole entire life. It just, with my dad working for his career, and my career, it's just not my thing. I treat everybody nicely,
Right.
just the way I want to be treated, And I never get starstruck by anybody. And one person, I'm in Tiffany's, I was buying something, and I was going to go back to my office on 47th and 6th, and I walk out of Tiffany's, and I spot JFK Jr. And he was just so beautiful, and he was so polite, and he just had such an air about him. And I didn't even watch. The lights had changed. I'm about to walk out, and he put his arm out, and he goes, "Please don't get hit by a car." And he goes, "I would feel terrible." I'm like, "Oh, you saved my life. Oh, my God." I was so mushy. I'm walking out with my bags from Tiffany's. I followed him all the way to George Magazine. He's like, "I'm going to work now. Thanks." I said, "I'm really sorry. I'm an idiot. I don't know why I followed you, but I just felt the need." And he's like, "It's okay." And he goes, "I like having people follow me to work." He goes, "Are you going to get to work okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, somehow."
I saw him once in a theater, and he was with the girl who did The Mermaid. I forgot her name. They were an item at the time, and it's a shame.
Daryl Hannah.
That's it.
Yes.
It's a shame that to die so young.
Absolutely. I do remember putting flowers in front of George Magazine when he passed. It was a terrible thing. But going back to Madeline, she's like, "I can't talk about them. I'm not allowed." And never got that part, but now I do.
All right. It's if we do something that we shouldn't be doing, like when we're communicating, and if I say to that person, if you notice, I always point away, because that's like if I'm telling you something, which is cancel. I'm not doing that. That person's going to die, and people do come to me, "Is my mother-in-law going to croak so I can get her money?" I can't answer that, because I'm not going to.
Right.
A young girl came to me, and I'm telling her about her aunt, and she said, "No, my aunt's alive." Well, her fiance was going to pick her up came to tell her, rather, her aunt had just passed away.
Oh, wow.
So sorry about that.
No, here.
You don't release that information.
I guess it's the ethical part of this, that you don't want to...
Right, we're not doctors. We have no right to say that person's going to die, even if we know it. I had a woman come to me, and I just said, "There's something wrong with somebody's, with your spouse's stomach. Please have him checked." No, he never said he was going to die, but bring him to a doctor to have him checked. Again, I would say, "I'm not a doctor, but this is a thought I have," or whatever. Well, he had stomach cancer. He died 3 months later.
Wow.
Now, the woman didn't call me, but the people in the group, someone gives me the information that this takes place. Some people want to know when they're going to die. That's between you and who's ever up there.
The day I was born, the day I'm checking out was already...
It's predestined, and there's nothing that we could do about it, or we want to do about it. I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer a couple of years ago.
I remember.
And I treat it like I had a cold, because if I buy it, if I buy the word cancer, I'm adding to the fire of the body. And then we're computers. And whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but we're computers, and we retain everything. And if we retain it and we believe it, then we create the sickness to even get worse.
Your show on Amazon, The Messenger, truly the messages are amazing, and the fact that you can clearly, intellectually, have these conversations about these messages, whether or not it's a medical thing or a loved one, is very, very interesting. I mean, have you found that this is a curse or a pleasure in your life?
I found it to be a gift and not a gift at the same time. because with my children or family members, if something comes to mind, I immediately say a prayer. So I'm always praying all day long, a little prayer for which grandson or which granddaughter or what part of my family. So that's the human side.
Right.
Now, if we separate and we take the human side, and then we take, I'm almost going to split myself in half, the human ed and the etheric part of it, it's sometimes hard to separate. But I do it. Mm-hmm. I don't go into a room saying, well, I'm going to see all these things. I just block it. One of my oldest son was having a problem, a health issue. And like shoemakers don't do their own shoes.
Right.
All right. So I took him on father-son vacation. And we're up in the mountain in Sedona, which is a great place, beautiful place. And I hear a voice on my telephone back in New York. Do you have this, a belt? And I said, no. Etherically, I'm saying, no, I gave you this belt, this weightlifting or whatever it was. He said, well, so-and-so needs to make an appointment with you. I get back to New York, that recording, exactly what I heard in Sedona was on my phone. I made the appointment for the young kid, but prior to that, back in Sedona, I said to the universe, if you heal my son, he said, I heard the voice say rather, will you heal my children? And of course, what would you say as a parent? Will you heal my son?
Yeah.
So somehow etherically agreement was made. My son has never complained from that day about the issue, and I took him to the best doctors at the time. I get back home and I listen to the recording, the same recording. The young man made an appointment. They come to the door. I open the door and I look at the person and I said to God, you couldn't wait. They had HIV or AIDS, I don't recall. And now when I do hands-on, when I was doing hands-on healing, you have to touch the person.
Sure.
And at the time, we didn't know about...
the 70s.
Yeah. We didn't know too much about this. The person calls me the next day. He says to me, rather, after I finished the work, he said, somebody else was in the room. You weren't in the room. Somebody else was working on me. He said, but of course you were in the room. He was trying to explain. They couldn't understand how one could separate and be in a room and not be in a room. He said, and he gave me this. And he opens up his hand and he has a Star of David in his hand. And he said to me, how did he know I was a Jew? Because I wore a Star of David and a cross. Star of David for the Blessed Mother, because we don't know if she converted the cross for Jesus. And he said, I have to give it back. I said, no, you were giving it back. He said, but it wasn't you. It was a different thing. Well, he kept this Star of David because I told him to. I asked him to because he calls me the next day and he said, I feel great. He said, am I going to stay great?
Oh, my God.
The end of the story, Diane, is I don't lost contact with the individual, but the end of the story is he only came to me to make peace between him and his maker. And I can't, whether he left this earth or he didn't, I did my job.
Right.
And that's what it's about. Do people think one is off the wall doing this? Yeah, sure.
What helps you help someone when they're going to prepare to come and see you or go to one of your events or one of your shows or a private reading? What should they do to prepare to come and see you? Do you want mementos? Do you want pictures?
They could. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
what is it that makes it easier for you to help them?
They could bring photographs. Don't bring out. One woman came with 20 albums. I can't do 20 albums. Bring some photos of the most important things. So I will read from the photos. Mm-hmm. All I need is their name, or I'll ask for their name and their date of birth, and I'll go on from there. A woman came to see me, and I was on a desk about this size, and she put down something, and I'm not paying attention, and I'm just talking, and she opened this up, and this ashes flew all over the place, and I said, and I had gone like this. I said, what is this? She said, oh, that's my son.
Oh, I would have fainted on the floor. Oh, my goodness.
So that's For her, it was, I couldn't laugh at the moment.
Oh.
But we scooped him up and put him back.
Oh.
You know.
Jeez.
There's amazing things that go on when I'm talking to people, but I try to not laugh.
Sure. But sometimes it's got to be comical. Yeah. I mean, don't you? If it was an interesting person and you have something funny to say, right. Because laughter is the best medicine.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's why I laughed through everything. I laughed through the cancer the whole 2 years. You know, it affected me once at one of my grandchildren's parties. A thought came and it just affected me. But after that, that was it. People that are dying want to hear happy things.
See, I don't think, I mean, I know my husband yells at me for stuff like this. I don't think passing away in general it's such a terrible, everybody's going to pass on, you know. But I believe in talking about them because it keeps them near you.
Yes.
And not because I'm screaming in anguish, but the funny things, the endearing things, the experiences, the likes, the dislikes, you know, things like that.
My mother, when she was dying, she would tell me, and it's in the messenger. She would ask me, she would tell me how to die. I've never done this before, and I would go through a process with her. And your father and your uncle, which were long gone, said, "If I remain here, I'm going to be a vegetable. I'm going to leave April 3rd." And she told me the day that she would pass. And as the day came closer and she was starting to fade, I picked up the phone and called everybody in the world to stop her from leaving. And she pointed at me and she said, "And don't do that again. You made me miss my turn. Now I have to wait until April the 3rd. Oof. And it was April 3rd. She was on her way in her journey. My mother had beautiful blue eyes, most beautiful. They sparkled like water. And when she was passing, it was like a dirty ashtray, her eyes.
Really?
And I said, I'll never see those beautiful eyes again, that blue. And my sister bent over and kissed my mother, and one of her collars, starch collars, picked up my mother's lid, and her eye was black to crystal clear. And I said, she made it. She's fine. Telephone rings. My kid sister's at the airport, and she said, Mom just passed away. I said, how do you know? She said she came to say goodbye. My father told me 28 years prior to my mother's passing exactly what was going to happen. It's in the messenger. Her stuff would burn in fire. There's something about the airport, and that was their meeting place. He was going to meet her at the airport. So if we listen very closely, we get the messages from our loved ones who are leaving, gone, on the other side, no matter how long it is, Diane.
All of your books are on Amazon?
Every book.
Because I want to read all of your reviews. I want to read everything. Are you like hooked up with Goodreads and stuff like that, which is like the largest book club ever?
No, we got to talk about that.
Oh, we do. Yeah. We must talk about that. We only have like 6 minutes. I can't believe this went by so quickly. I have to read all the children's books.
I thought 6 minutes was we had another 45 minutes to go.
No. We only have 6 minutes. We have to make the 6 minutes count.
Oh, yes. They're very important.
That's right. I know this book well. This is a great book. But now I have to read all the other books, especially the ones that, you know, have your grandchildren's face on it and stuff like that. And you better hurry up and finish those other two books.
Yes, I will.
Because they're going to feel very slighted. I have to share a lot of this with my friends. I think we're going to have to do some sort of group thing.
Yes, that would be very, very nice.
Absolutely.
Very nice. Before our 5 minutes, 5 minutes and a half minutes are left, I want to hear a little more about your book. You spoke about my book, you spoke about my children's book, but I want to hear a little more about your book.
My book is fun. It's just, it's the 80s and 90s, you know.
How did you feel when you were writing it?
I was writing, honestly, at red lights, in between having conversations with people. It was just flowing. It was, there was an idea about the series of books that nobody outside of our friendship circle would know who the real people were.
Yes.
So all the names are changed, and it was supposed to be, you know, I always said to Angela that our adventures were a lot more fun than what people could even contemplate. And not only just with that particular group, I had another friend, Rose, who every day was an adventure with Rose. I mean, like things that you could not imagine could ever happen. So that we would put, all of the ideas in into a couple of books, and nobody besides us would know who the main characters were or anybody,
Right.
And people surmise. Some people say it's this one, it's that one, whatever, and I'll never tell.
Yeah.
And then I lost a little bit of steam because Angela passed on.
Yeah.
And I just felt it wasn't the appropriate time to put out the book. I had waited like a year or so. And then, I don't know, I just kind of felt like, today's a good day. And I'll do it.
Good. So we're looking forward to your next book, even though this is your show, not my show.
Yes. Well, you better come and do a show here.
And I will. It was Philip and the Magic Crystal. I was diagnosed with another 15 years ago 15 years ago with another type of cancer.
Oh, gosh.
Later on, I got the other thing. And I was the only one who sat in the office laughing as I'm writing. And everybody's waiting for a death sentence, and I'm finding such humor, so we have to laugh at everything in life because life is funny.
Life is funny. I just think that, for me personally, I just want to have a good time till the day. I have no desire to be 90-something years old. I'm okay with going in my 70s. I don't really particularly want to suffer, but I want to be able to just enjoy life.
Well, you see, that's the most important word, the suffering, and that's what everyone is afraid of, is how are we going to get there? Mm-hmm. And that's the fear. Pain, are we going to suffer? Just relax and don't worry about it. If we worry about death, it's going to come anyway. I worried about my mother for 28 years after my father died, a young man, and I was concerned, I'm going to lose my mother. And all of a sudden the day came and she was gone. And I wasted those brain cells worrying about it.
It's nice to know that people that I've cared about throughout my life who've passed on are on another adventure.
That's what it is, another adventure, another book.
Even beyond the books, like kids. I mean, I had some deaths when I was, a child, and they were my peers and my friends. So between elementary school and high school, it was, geez, nobody dies, especially a kid. You never think about something like that. But it's nice to think now, as a grown-up, that they're on just another adventure, that they're just not completely gone and forgotten.
Well, that's why I called it another book, because it's another part of life.
Yeah.
If you go, we got a couple of seconds left here. If we
go 2 minutes.
If we go to a hypnotherapist, a real good one, and he backtracks us and brings us to another lifetime. It's like there's another book called Life After Life. I didn't write it, I'm not the writer, and it's so factual.
You want to go together to one?
Yes,
Let's
would be
do that.
phenomenal. That would be phenomenal.
That would be a lot of fun.
We'll find out why we're linked and how we became friends.
This is true. This is true. I mean, I got to tell you, when you came up to me in Kim's store, I was just like, what?
You probably said, "Is that man crazy?" Coming right up to me.
No. I thought it was very interesting, but especially in the beginning. Afterwards, I was like floored. But in the beginning, Kim gave me the look of like, it's all good. Yeah. And if Kim says it's all good, it's all good.
That secret girl look.
Yeah. Kim is probably the most grounded, kindest person on the face of the earth.
She's very, very sweet.
She is. And
she
just looked at me and said, it's all good. It's all good. I was like, oh my goodness, we're all good.
Sometime in September, I'll be back at her store doing little readings for people who go to her premise.
Yeah.
Because that she's always been nice to me, so that's my give back.
Right.
And you have to give back in this world.
I totally agree. Yeah. Is there anybody standing near me at this point before we go in 50 seconds?
The man that I mentioned earlier.
Still there?
Still there.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Does he look good?
He looks fabulous.
My dad, I will never forget, during the 70s, standing in front of the mirror in the morning, listening to Shaft, the music from Shaft, blow drying his hair like, Saturday Night Fever disco style. Because I used to wake up really, really early just to see him when he lived at home before he got assigned overseas. Wake up early at 4 o'clock in the morning to see him before he went to work. Just have breakfast with him, and he would do this thing in his hair, and I don't know.
He's right with you because you got a kiss on your head.
Well, that is a wonderful thing. That is a wonderful thing. I love you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
No, I want to have you back all the time. Thank you for being here, Warehouse 34. Thank you so much.